And welcome to Nelson Math Focus 6 podcast. This is Chapter 5, Lesson 5, Combining Transformations of Different Kinds. I'm Mr. Burko at St. John Fine Arts School, and welcome. Today our goal is to describe and create designs using different transformations of two-dimensional shapes. In our textbook on page 162, we have Joel, who is creating a design for Canada Book Day using transformations. He's using the Chinese character for family as the basis of his design. You'll see this character on your screen right now, just like it is in the book. Now Joel says, I'll repeat one transformation of the character to make the first row of my design. So here he is creating a transformation. He creates a first row of 5 characters, and then he decides he's going to combine 2 different transformations of the first character to make the second row. He's not very specific about what he wants to create, and we're going to ask you to figure out what transformations he is using. Alright, this is our second row. So he's created this image all from one original image, the character for family. Which transformation of the original character do you think Joel used to make his first row? Now before I answer, I want you to give this some thought. Which transformation did he use to create the original first row? Joel used translations to make the first row. He copied his image and then he moved his image by translation to the right each time. Were you correct? In question B, they ask, which transformations of the original character do you think Joel used to make his second row? I want you to think about that for a second. Which transformation did he use to make his second row? Did you answer reflection? If you did, you're right. He used reflection to create a new row, and he translated the reflection then to the right, or you can also reflect the group of images down below, and then he doesn't need to translate any images at all. Question C asks us to cut out a copy of the starting character and its images, and then it asks us to use rotations and translations to make the third row of Joel's design. Here is an example of what could have been created. I could have copied a bunch of those family characters, and I could have translated them down here, and then I rotated them. And as you can see, I rotated them 1/4 turn clockwise. And then I created a new row of images. In the reflecting questions, question D and E, they ask, for D, what is another way to create the second row? And we found that one possible example could be to reflect the first row across a horizontal line at the bottom of the row. So rather than creating individual images, you can reflect the first row across a horizontal line. And then question E says, are the images of your design all congruent to the starting character? Then it asks you to explain your thinking. Now, if you've been listening since lesson 1, you will remember that we learned the word congruent in lesson 1. The definition for congruent is shapes that are exactly the same in size and in design. And so if you have shapes that look exactly the same, then you know that they are congruent. They're identical in size and shape. After you've thought about this for a second, the answer to question E is yes, the images are all congruent because they have only been translated, reflected, or rotated. And so they would not be congruent if we had changed the size of the shape or if we had modified the shape in any way. So they are congruent. Thank you for joining us today for our podcast from St. John Fine Arts School. This is the end of Chapter 5, Lesson 5.